are jerks. But my favorite answer to this question, what qualities do you want in a friend, was the first answer that I received. This definitely was an answer from a 5th grader, and it caught me and the rest of the group off guard because we didn't expect it at all. I asked, where's David? I asked Glenn Maxwell, what qualities do you want in a friend? And Glenn paused for a moment, put one finger to his chin, and he thought to himself for a quick second, and then he responded, what do I want in a friend? I want my friends to be just as awesome as I am. Yes, my friends should be just as awesome as me. I can't even remember what I said in response to Glenn because we all just started laughing uncontrollably. I think I just said, that's great, Glenn. And I moved on to the next person. I want my friends to be just as awesome as I am. I can't think of any adult who would have that same response. It's not the politically correct answer. It's not the Sunday school answer, but it's a raw, genuine, authentic answer full of childlike innocence. And maybe it's the best answer that we can give. The problem is that none of us would give this answer, because adults generally don't have the guts to give such an answer. And I discovered this at one of our Thursday lunch devotionals a couple weeks ago. We were talking about Jesus' command to love others as you love yourself. And you and I both know that preachers, myself included, we love to talk about the importance of loving others. You know, seeing how Jesus emphasized the importance of loving one another, it's understandable that myself and other preachers, we talk about this subject quite often, and how we fall short of loving one another quite often. But we realized something in our devotional time together, though. We realized that we are actually really good at loving one another as we love ourselves. The problem isn't that we don't love one another as we love ourselves. We live up to Jesus' command pretty well. But the problem is we don't love ourselves. We wouldn't tell that to the preacher, you know, I want my friends to be just as awesome as I am, because deep down inside, in our very beings, we struggle to believe that we're awesome. We don't love ourselves. When Jesus says in the Sermon on the Mount, do not judge others, or you too will be judged. Do not look at the plank in your brother's eye when you can't even examine your own eye. The problem is we only hear the first part of what Jesus is saying. You know, we hear, okay, I need to stop judging others. I hear you, Jesus. You know, we understand that we Christians are not supposed to judge people, but we're missing part of Jesus' message. Do not look at the plank in your brother's eye when you can't even examine your own eye. We're so focused on what other people are doing that we don't examine ourselves. Or for some of us, we're so focused on comparing ourselves to others that we don't truly know who we are. We judge others mostly because we don't like ourselves. We haven't come to grips with who we are. We are focused on judging the images of other people because we don't like our own image. We are consumed with judging others' attitudes and behaviors because we don't like our own. We get angry with others because we see something in them that we don't like in us. It's like we're running up to someone that we're angry with and we're saying, I really hate the me that I see in you. We see other people not as they are, but as we are. And Jesus was confronted by a crowd once that had caught a woman in adultery. And the religious leaders, they wanted to corner Jesus and make him stick to the scriptures that said they must stone this woman for committing a sin. For these religious leaders, they had the right theology. They had the right way of thinking. Adultery is wrong. But they had the wrong spirit. You know, I've wondered that if deep down inside, these religious leaders, they wanted Jesus to prove them wrong. You know, like they wanted Jesus to show them that there is another way besides stoning this woman. Like maybe if Jesus stones this woman, it could just confirm all the insecurities and the shame and the guilt that they see in themselves. You know, maybe secretly they hoped that Jesus will be different. For these religious leaders, it was all about condemnation, about condemning themselves, even condemning themselves. But for Jesus, he taught them a new way, a way of redemption and restoration. He said, if you are sinless, if any of you are sinless, throw the first stone. And at that, everyone just let their stones just slip out of their fingers, and they fell at the woman's feet. Jesus teaches us a different way than judging others and throwing stones at one another and ultimately throwing stones at ourselves. Jesus teaches us to examine ourselves. Jesus wants us to look at ourselves the way God looks at us, and then to do unto others as you would do unto yourself. So in his Sermon on the Mount, Jesus says, knock, and the door will be open. Ask, and it will be given to you. Jesus is like, look, you take care of your children, right? You know that if your kid asks for bread, you're not going to give them a snake, right? Then know that I'm going to take care of you. You are God's child. You are awesome. God says, look at yourself the way I look at you. Look at yourself. Now look at me. Now back at yourself. You are the joy that's found in me. Stop acting like these stuck-up, stubborn, stupid adults who live to tell you everything that you are not. Jesus didn't come to tell you who he isn't and all the sins that you're supposed to avoid so you can know what you're not supposed to be. No. Jesus came to tell you everything he is so you can know who you are and whose you are. You are God's child. You are awesome. Jesus didn't die on the cross and rise again so we can preach a sermon 2,000 years later about everything that salvation isn't and everything freedom in Christ isn't. No, Jesus died so we may know who he is, so we might live. So we might live life to the fullest, so we might have the doors open wide, so we might have joy overflowing and grace that isn't fair, and we might love where we least expected it. In this life we will have trouble, but who cares? God is still big enough to bring a rainbow from our storms. Believe that. You are God's child. You are awesome. And God is big enough. This last week, I received a text at 9:30 a.m. on Monday morning. Many of you know that I usually take Mondays off for my Sabbath rest, as I don't get to rest much on the weekends normally. But on Mondays, I talk with a few of my old seminary buddies about the joys and struggles of being a pastor. But when I received this text from Sherry Morris that her sister, Susan, her house was on fire Sunday night, I told my friends I had to make a phone call, and I called Sherry immediately. She explained to me that Susan, Garrett, and Shannon were on their way to Miami for a cruise, but that there was a bad house fire last night, and they were pretty sure that they lost everything. Susan and Sherry's dad, Phil, told Susan that there is nothing she can do, so they should take their vacation as planned, and that he will take care of things from here. I didn't even blink when I told Sherry, let me finish talking with my seminary friends and I'll be there soon. Well, I couldn't even focus talking with my seminary friends because I was just thinking about all that needed to be done. And I told them, I'm sorry guys, but I just have to go take care of this family. And both of them being pastors themselves, they said, go, do your duty. And then before I could even leave my house, Rhoda had called me to tell me that the prayer team had already been contacted and that they were praying for the boys. And then David called me to let me know he was going out of town to see his mom with the boys, but that he would be back Tuesday and he wanted to help. And as I spent the day with the family Monday, assessing the situation and seeing what needed to be done, my mind was just scrambling, trying to figure out how we can help this family out as quickly as possible before they get back on Friday. Now on Monday, there was one person who wasn't sure that he wanted us to help, and this was Susan's dad, Phil. Phil reacted like any dad would have reacted. He didn't want help. He wanted to be responsible and take care of his daughter. But I told Phil immediately, I know you want to take care of your daughter, but we are the church, and this is what we do. We take care of each other, and because Susan is our family too. And I know now, as this week has progressed, how much Phil has how much Phil has helped people out himself in this community in the past. Carol Provost specifically told me about how much Phil used to help out her and Dan. Carol told me that Harold Henderson, a former preacher from here in Reddick, for those of you that don't know, he used to say this. He said, "We find joy in giving others. Don't rob others that same joy in giving to you." I wasn't going to let Phil talk us out of helping his family. And for the record, by Wednesday, Phil has shown so much appreciation for everything that this church has done. This church has been awesome. For as a church, we make commitments to serve the church by our prayers, our presence, our gifts, our service, and our witness. None of us have been able to do everything that we wanted for this family, but you all have done something. You all prayed. Our prayer team prayed. We received prayers on Facebook. People the boys have never even met have been praying for them. Some of you have shown up to offer your support. All throughout the week, even people that couldn't serve showed up to offer the family support and to be a healing presence. The smoke smell was extremely strong, and not everyone could stay in the house for long. In fact, I got sick multiple times this week from being in the house too long. But many of you still showed up to talk to us and to give us a break from breathing in those fumes. Not everyone has been up here all week because this has been y'all's spring break. But I had so many phone calls from you all saying, "I'll be back on Friday, what can I do?" Or "I'll be back on Sunday, I'm bringing this gift with me for the family." You all have outpoured your love on this family by your gifts. And I want you to know that I am so very, very proud of our church council because they unanimously voted on Monday evening to have all of the fish fry ticket sales go towards the awards. I just think it's awesome that we are so financially stable that when one of us is in need, we can give 100% of our fundraiser to help out family members. I know some people have already given gifts to the family, and in the grand scheme of things, this isn't much, but hopefully these gifts help you all to get started.
I said friends and family, you're not friends, you are family, and I love every one of you.
God brought us all the supplies that we had asked for. I put an SOS out for help throughout the week, and 8 different people spent hours to clean up furniture and organize belongings and help move furniture out of the house. And many of you took time off of your spring break to help out this family so they can enjoy their spring break and come back home to this home that may be burnt all over, but so they could know that this church home loves them very dearly. You have been awesome. You have served this church this week by your prayers, your presence, your gifts, your service, and your witness. And this week is a witness to what the church can do and what the church does. I told Sherry, you are such a great sister. And she said, I didn't do anything that Susan wouldn't have done for me. And if this had happened to anyone else in our church family, I'd still be doing the same thing. And you have made my sermon very easy for this week. Because when I talk about Jesus telling us to do unto others as you would do unto yourself, you have shown what this looks like. You probably don't even know that I've had this sermon series planned out for over a year with this scripture verse planned for this week. I didn't know how fitting this verse would be for this week, but I can tell you this verse has been repeating itself in my head over and over again as I've watched what God can do through you. Do unto others as you would do unto yourself. If loving others as you love yourself requires that we actually love ourselves, then I must say after this week that maybe it's about time that you start believing without a doubt you are awesome. When Glenn says, I want my friends to be just as awesome as I am, I can tell him that you are definitely just as awesome. But you know, still the seeds of doubt have plagued me as to our awesomeness. When Susan came to me yesterday, like she said, at the Spring Fling Festival, she said, you know, I knew you would make this happen. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, I knew that you would be able to take care of us while we were gone. I was able to have a vacation because I trusted y'all when you came through. And I said, but I don't feel like we've even done that much. Because on Monday, I wanted to be like Extreme Home Makeover and give them a better house to come back to than when they left. You know, I wanted all of the possible financial struggles to be taken care of by the time they came back. I wanted this miracle to happen. And I know that it's sin telling me that a miracle didn't happen. I mean, if you look at Shannon's room, where the fire started, and you consider how Shannon's door was shut, and the fire didn't erupt until the firefighters came and busted through her door, then we can see how a miracle happened. Because first, if Shannon's door had been opened, the whole house might have been lost, for the fire would have spread quickly. And second, if the boys hadn't decided to leave their home Sunday night instead of Monday morning, and Shannon was still in that room, I don't know if she would have made it out. If she didn't wake up immediately to the fire, either the smoke insulation would have killed her, or if when she opened the door, like the firefighters did, the fire would have exploded onto her. A miracle did happen, that this family wasn't home, and that they're all safe, and that the main structure of this house is still safe. Shannon's room is just covered in black. Her bed is just box springs because her entire mattress melted away. Sherry and her daughter Courtney, they tried to find anything that was salvageable to give to Shannon when she came back home, but they couldn't find anything. They wanted to just find something to give to Shannon to show her that all is not lost. And as they dug through her stuff more, they found one item, a book that had its case over it. The book itself was unharmed. It had a little smoke residue on the corners, but for the most part, it's okay. And Sherry was driving to her house to show the rest of the family what she and Courtney had found, and she was driving so fast that she didn't even realize that Carol Provost was following her. And Carol stepped out of her car at Sherry's house just as Sherry stepped out of her car, and Carol said, hello, did you not see that I was following you? And Sherry was in tears as she showed Carol. She said, look what we found. We found Shannon's Bible from confirmation last year. And Carol said that she put one hand on Sherry and the other on Shannon's Bible. And she said, don't you see? This is God telling you that everything is going to be okay. I've said it before and I'll say it again. God is big enough. God made you to be awesome. Let me try that again. God made you to be awesome.